Chapter 5. The robin's egg are easy enough to find, though the hunt takes me further away from Briar's outer walls than I have been in a while. I don't mind the extra time away from the Grace district. Callow agrees, ruffling her feathers and letting out a satisfied shriek. She hates the lair as much as I do. When I had first found my kestrel on these cliffs, my heart broke at the thought of some day setting her free. Lavender House is not equipped with a muse, and I'm untrained in falconry. But as she healed, it became clear that Callow would not be returning to the sky. One of her wings was too badly injured, and so she remains with me, denied the freedom that is hers by right. A gull calls overhead as if mocking her. Talons needle into the flesh beneath my gown. Don't listen, I tell her. We have each other. As much as I enjoy visiting Hildy, I've always preferred fetching my own enhancements to buying them. When I first began practicing my gift, I devised physical challenges for myself as a distraction from the loneliness I experienced within the walls of Lavender House. They started small, with scaling trees and balancing on boulders. Then I started pushing myself to reach even the highest nest within the spindliest branches, where the elusive, dark-mottled eggs of a carrion crow waited, or wriggling into the narrowest burrow to scavenge weasel whiskers and discarded badger claws. I almost never lost this game, no matter how impossible the errand. But the robin slaying season is nearly done. Rose would have to make do with those two of the bright blue eggshells. Once I pack the fragile things away, I stretch my arms over my head and breathe deeply, letting the briny, humid air warm me inside and out. I wish I could listen to the sea from my attic room in Lavender House. There, all I can hear is shouting and wheels against stone. The bustle of the servants and Rose's grating laughter. A familiar shape in the distance catches my eye. Perched high on the sea cliffs, it might look at first like nothing more than a mountain of rubble stacked in the vague shape of the castle's tower. But I know the story. It's a relic of early Briar, not of the original palace. Those ancient bones still stand beside the new monstrosity. This structure was built before there were Grace and Common districts, possibly before even the main walls were constructed, during the years in which Leithana and her first heirs allowed their subjects to settle wherever they chose. It must have been a wealthy home, if the surviving tower is only a piece of it. But it was built too close to the cliff's edge, and, over the centuries, the strong sea squalls from Briar's coast began to chip it apart, stone by stone. It's been abandoned for generations, uninhabitably, except for the ghosts said to haunt its hollow halls. Ghosts, ridiculous. Still, I have always felt a strange pull to the place. How fitting would it be, the dark Grace living in the wretched castle tower. Not that I'd ever be allowed to leave Lavender House before my gift ran out. But once it does, the Grace Council has to grant me lodging somewhere. Out here, I'd never have to worry about visitors again. It's a sweet enough thought to have me checking the angle of the sun, calculating how long it would take for me to get to the tower and back. And then I'm on my way toward the ruins. Clumps of trees patch the landscape, their roots clinging to the cliffside like giant spiders' legs. Their branches provide only the barest shade to combat the heat of the sun. Gulls call back and forth overhead, riding a sticky, slow-moving breeze that does little to circulate the cottony air. Before I'm halfway to the tower, my dress is plastered to my skin. Sweat beads down my neck and across my back, the sack filled with Rose's orders heavier with each step. But the trip to the ruins is worth it. Just before the earth drops away, the black tower staggers into the sky on its wobbly legs. Pieces of the roof have fallen off or caved in. Black vines snake in and out of broken windows, like the arteries of some gargantuan creature. I love it. The door is the only part of the tower still relatively intact. It's made of oak, with various crests and patterns I don't recognize, carved into the silty surface. I set my sack down and transfer Callow, who has much to say about being left behind, to a fallen log nearby and secure her jesses to a limb. And then it takes 3 hard shoves of my unhappy shoulder to get the door to give. The rusted hinges scream an iron-laced peal. Even then, I only achieve a very small sliver space between the door and the frame. I suck in my breath and angle myself through. The chamber within might as well be a tube. A crumbling stone staircase hobbles up the side of one curved wall. Judging from the mezzanines, the structure has 3 floors, their railings furry with moss and draped with cobwebs. Tattered banners still hang from the beams, the shredded hems billowing in the sea breeze. And there is a perpetual echo of the roar of the ocean, which is plainly visible through a wide gaping hole on the far wall, where a hall must once have connected the tower to the rest of the manor. Movement to my far right snags my attention, coupled with a sound too heavy to be a rat or a snake. It seems I'm not the only one who thought the black tower looking inviting. Who's here? I fight to keep the tremor out of my voice. I have no elixir ready to use in my defense. Even if I did, the Grace laws forbid it. And the people of Briar would string me up if I harmed one of their own. I'd be at the bottom of the sea before sunset. I squint in the gloom and take 1 step forward. 2. I think I can make out the shape of hunched shoulders, the sheen of dark eyes. Please. The voice is raspy, as if it hasn't been used in some time. It's a man, I think, and the accent is strange, clipped and clean despite the scrape of gravel in it. Perhaps even fraying. I mean you no harm. Adrenaline hums through me. Come into the light, then. I cannot. He wheezes, choking on his own tongue. Why not? I pick up a rusted iron bar and test its weight. The darkness shifts, churning like the waves of the sea outside. A man's shape begins to emerge, tall and lean, peeled from the darkness as if the very shadows had cobbled him together and given him life. Tendrils of black unspool from his arms, from his hair like a child's unruly curls. Even his eyes are a bottomless jet black, haunting and desperate. My heart thunders against my ribs as I scramble backward, but the floor is slick with brine and my feet slip. With a yelp, I tumble onto my backside, pain lacing up my spine as the iron bar clatters against stone. Forgive me, the stranger says. I didn't mean to frighten you. He moves closer, still refusing to step into the sunlight, and his features begin to solidify. Broad shoulders, strong jaw, chin-length hair falling in inky waves around pronounced cheekbones. One unnaturally pale alabaster hand reaches out, as if to touch me, and I scuttle away on all 4s. Are you real? His throat bobs. It's not the first time someone has asked me that question. Typically drunken imbeciles I encounter at night. Anger quickly replaces the panic sawing through my lungs. I shove myself up to stand, rubbing at the sore spots on my elbows and palms. Of course I'm real. What kind of question is that? You can see me, can't you? Yes, but... He swallows, and it looks like it hurts him. It has been a long time since I had a visitor. Nearly 20 years. 20 years? Something scratches at my brain. That's not possible. I've never heard of anyone living in the tower. A ghost of a smile tugs at his lips. I was put here to be forgotten. Liar. If I can open that door, you can. There's nothing keeping you here. No, He looks at the halo of light at the entrance, like a drowning man spotting a piece of driftwood. A muscle flickers in his jaw. I am bound to the darkness of this tower. A wave pounds against the cliff. That's impossible. But I study the charcoal shadows twining around his ankles, clutching him as tightly as chains. His dark cloak rippling slightly in a current of wind incongruous to the breeze I feel. The way he's so careful not to step into the shafts of dampled sunlight sneaking through the cracks in the roof. My mouth goes dry. An enchantment, but who? And most important, why? A punishment, he winces. For what? I press. It would take strong magic to bind you here. Surely you did something worth remembering. It is strong magic, he confirms, and I note the rigid set of his shoulders. His shadows sharpen to spears. It was during the war. He sinks to his knees, one hand clutching his chest. Please, I cannot say. It's forbidden. A horrible gurgling sound escapes him. All right, I rush forward before I can stop my feet, understanding flooding through me in a rush. The enchantment keeps you from speaking of it? He nods, gulping down air. Dragon's teeth, I whisper, kneeling beside him. A tingling suspicion raises the hair on my nape. The only creatures I know to be capable of such magic are the Fae, but they can only summon light magic, surely not this sort. Even so, I have no desire to trifle with them, one in particular. And yet, if the stranger's crime was so terrible, he would be known. There would be chains and guards and locks. I wouldn't be able to just stroll inside his prison on a Friday afternoon. You mentioned a war. Do you mean the War of the Fae? He grunts something like assent, and he must, for there isn't any other war in Briar's history. But that was centuries past, and this man has been rotting in here ever since? It's impossible. And yet, here he is. Does the enchantment keep you from telling me your name? He heaves a ragged breath. Call me Kel. Kel. I test the name on my tongue. I'm Alyce. After a few more hacking coughs, Kel calms. He looks at me, a fine line wrinkling his forehead. You look... No, it cannot be. He scrunches his eyes closed and opens them again. Without warning, he seizes my forearm and yanks me towards him. Let me go! But he's stronger than I imagine, and so painfully cold, like frosted steel through the sleeve of my dress. He examines the tracks of green on my wrist. You're Wheeler. An all too familiar shame trickles down the back of my throat. Half. Your mother. Who was she? His grip tightens. I don't know, I admit, heat burning my cheeks. Perhaps this man is telling the truth about his captivity. Even the youngest child in Briar knows the story of the dark race, and I don't appreciate being made to retell it. She left me when I was an infant. 20 years ago. A cold that has nothing to do with Kel prickles across my shoulder blades. The sea crashes outside. How did you know that? He smiles, a real smile this time. He glows with it. Because I knew her. Lenore. The breath leaves my body. Lenore. For 20 years I've wandered, haunted by the spectre of parents who abandoned me near the harbour, like I was no better than a basket of rotting fish. I pictured my mother 100,000 ways, weak and destitute, hoping someone would take pity on her cursed child, indifferent and shrewd, willing to cast me off for her own gain, terrified and lost, having birthed a defective grace and too afraid to claim it. And now those ghosts have a name, Lenore. Why should I believe you? My mother left me to die in an alley. If you were her friend, then... She didn't leave you. The prisoner's black eyes flash. Lenore entrusted you to a woman in the common district, where you would be safe, while she came here to help me. Free me from this tower, and then we were going to leave together, all of us. A wind whistles through the cracks in the stone. The fishmonger. He could have had a wife. I imagined the woman waiting with me as the hours ticked by, apprehension building. And then, when my mother never came back for me, she panicked. Her husband would have wanted nothing to do with a hideous infant and her unknown powers, and so he delivered me to the Grace Council, which means my mother might have walked these very stones, smelled the salt and the mold and the reek of fish. It takes me a moment to find my voice, and I struggle to disguise how much Kel's words have affected me. She was Vila? Only partly. Like you. Oh, Alyce, I can see her in you. The same mouth and nose. He lifts my hand. The same fingers. I remove myself from his grasp and retreat further into the sunlight. Why would she have wanted to help you? Hurt flits across Cal's features, an expression I know well from the number of times I've been brushed off or shoved aside, but he continues. They didn't know about her real blood. She disguised it well, and she found me here, much as you just did. We were akin, in a way, as both of us hailed from Altair, and she understood the cruelty of this prison. No one deserves this fate. But how did she hide from the Fae ambassador? I couldn't. Andlewild. a full-blooded Etherian appointed to the royal household and tasked with holding together the alliance between the Fae courts and Briar. It was he who recognized my Vila blood when I was dumped in the lap of the Great Council. He who led the experiments to see if I was Vila enough to be killed, or just a darker version of a Grace. My insides wither at the thought of his golden Fae eyes and bark-like skin, brown and grooved like that of an oak, and the same pain from Hildy's sharp resurfaces. This time I can't help but press the heel of my palm into the place in my middle. She appeared human, more so than you do. Kel adds quietly, as if worried it will offend me. Is that why she never came back for me? Because it was easier for her to hide? They killed her. He grinds his teeth. Beasts. It was just after she attempted to sever my bindings. But the power of the enchantment was too great. She went back for you. We would try again another day. I was watching her return to Briar, as I always did, and they intercepted her. I do not know how they knew she was here, or how they determined what she was. There was some kind of argument, and then they threw her into the sea. These abominable shadows rendered me powerless to stop them. And you, I thought you were dead too. Beasts? Who do you mean? It couldn't have been Endelwild. Then there would have been no questions about my origins when I turned up in the common district, and I doubt it was the king's man. But Cal's mouth just opens and closes, the bones of his neck straining as he struggles to speak. Callow screeches outside, and it seems to knock a dose of sense into me. I have no reason to trust this man, no proof that what he says is true. This is too much. I have to go. Wait, I can help you. I know the power that runs in your veins. The gift of the Vila. I pause mid-step. The curse, you mean? His dark brows knit together. Is that what you think? What they told you? Against my own instinct, I find myself rushing on. What else can it be? All I can summon is ugliness and pain. Alyce. I've never heard my name spoken that way before, with compassion, and it almost hurts. You're so much more than that. What am I? The question is barely more than a whisper, an aching need that's plagued me since I was old enough to understand the extent of my otherness. You said my mother looked more human than I do. Why? I am part Wheeler, but what about the rest? Do you know? I do. A tide of Cal's shadows rolls towards me, sizzling when it reaches the sunlight. Are you certain you wish me to tell you? No, but I can't seem to turn away either. And so I nod. You're a shifter, just like me.